Hi everyone, this is David Eddy. I'm going to take you through an introductory guide to reflective practice to start section 1 of the learning materials. Okay, so what we're going to look at is what do we mean by reflection and reflective practice and why is this important? And we'll also introduce some models of reflective practice because hopefully they will help you in terms of your reflective writing and will be a support for evidencing your personal and professional development. Okay, so in terms of reflection, there's no real agreed definition of what reflective practice is, but what I've done is I've pulled out one or two that I feel are quite pertinent and germane and work for me, but you may find others that work better for you. So this is one from Bood talking about reflection being a generic term for those intellectual and affective activities, which means the feeling, the emotional dimension of it as well, in which you engage as an individual or practitioner to explore your experiences, and the intention is hopefully that that leads you to new understanding and appreciations. So I quite like that aspect of it. For a straightforward, simple definition, Lucas is great. The key thing about this definition for me is that the focus is on systematic enquiry. So, reflection's not just something that you kind of do and just have a quick think about something, but you're actually looking into your practice or the practice of others in quite a deep and systematic way in the hope that you can enhance and improve it and enhance your appreciation of it. So that's quite a nice definition from my perspective as well. The other one that's quite nice is John's, where it talks about reflective practice, allowing you as a practitioner to make sense of and learn. And the key thing for me is through work experience, in that it's very much work related, and there's an awful lot of learning takes place within the workplace that often goes unrecognised, and reflective practice is a good way of helping you to achieve that. It's also nice that it finishes on a positive, talking about using reflective practice to achieve more desirable, effective and satisfying work, which is always a bonus. At this point, just want you to pause and consider and think about whether we can actually make a differentiation between reflection in and reflection on action. That would be something to bear in mind as we go through, because that's something that's going to be a focus when you start and actually undertake your reflective writing as well, so you're going to need to consider that. In terms of the definitions around this, probably the best place to go is Sean, who does make a distinction between the two types of reflection. Atkins and Murphy reiterated this, where they talk about reflection in action being the process whereby you as a practitioner recognise a new situation and think about it while still acting. And this has some resonance in terms of thinking about situations in a treatment room, for example, where there's a treatment setup that doesn't quite go right, and that you're actually utilising and synthesising knowledge on the hoof, recognising there's a situation or problem and actually coming up with a solution, utilising previous experience, information, evidence-based, that kind of thing, and you're synthesising all of that very quickly. That's high-level skill. Key thing is about how do you capture that in terms of documenting the evidence. So be interesting to see whether that definition did strike a chord with you, and you can probably think of some examples to illustrate that as we go through. The distinction then that's made obviously is in terms of, instead of you reflecting and looking at a problem or an issue that's arisen actually at the time in practice, reflective practice where you're reflecting on action is about looking back retrospectively. So standing back, taking a cold hard look, and in sort of a fairly relaxed mode, and thinking about, what's the knowledge that I've gained and I've uncovered here, and how did I feel about how things had gone in a particular situation. So reflection on action is probably something that's more common, and you maybe do that more routinely. Reflection in action, actually, you probably do all of the time, but don't actually think about it being reflection in action. So it'd be interesting to see what that means in your terms. Key thing in terms of reflecting on action is, have you learned from this? And has it made you alter, change your practice, that kind of thing? Sometimes reflection on action can be referred to as having a bit of a light bulb moment. And if you're going to think about documented and evidencing reflection in your CPD portfolios, for example, you need to be very selective about this, and you can't actually record and document a reflection on absolutely everything that you do, but you have to select the ones that are germane, that were really the key learning moments for you, that were really kind of light bulb moments, and those would be the ones to go for in terms of documentation. Okay, so at this point, if you've got any queries, please post these on the eTivity workspace. There's a conversation thread and you've got links to that within your workbook. Okay, now just to close, I want you to start to think about reflective practice, perhaps in this context. If you think about it as a continuum where you've got reflection in action on one end, and at the opposite end you've got reflection on action, and the continuum, the reflective practice continuum, helps you to facilitate your learning through the documentation and recording of experience. Which, if we take that a little bit further, that makes it the essential conduit from reflecting in action to reflecting on action, and that's the purpose of reflective writing. So that's the bit that joins the two. Reflecting in action you tend to do in your head and think about it and maybe chat out loud while you're in the situation itself. Reflective writing actually helps you to convert that into reflection on action, which then becomes tangible evidence, and it does enable you then to recognise and document your learning through the recording of it. So hopefully that makes some kind of sense to you. Finally, to finish this section, I just want to end with a quote which I think is really important when you think about reflective writing. So if we're thinking of writing as the vehicle for reflection, Bolton makes a really germane point where she says you can't write the wrong thing. So whatever you write will be right for you. So in terms of reflective writing, there's no right or wrong. It's not like answering an exam question or an assignment question, that kind of thing. In terms of reflective writing, it's all about you getting out of it what you put into it. But the writing does enable you to stand back from a distance from the event and gives you some ownership and authority over your own practice, and hopefully enables you to enhance your own practice as well. Okay, so hopefully that was a useful introduction to get you underway with reflective practice, and I look forward to seeing you some of your postings on the activities that we've put within the workbook for you.